I've always believed that life moves too quickly to truly notice the beauty in small moments. When I was younger, I used to think that big milestones, birthdays, graduations, weddings, were what shaped us. But over the years, I've learned that it's not just the big events that matter. It's the quiet mornings, the shared laughter at the dinner table, the long walks, the nights spent talking until sunrise. My name is Emily Carter, and this is my story. The story of how I watched the people I love grow older and stronger right before my eyes. When I married my husband, Daniel, we were both just starting out. Fresh out of college, with more dreams than money, more ambition than experience, and hearts that were still learning what it meant to be fully committed. We lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment in Ohio, with creaky floors and windows that let the winter wind in, but to us, it felt like a castle. The day we brought our first child home, I realized how much life was about to change. Her name was Lily, a small, pink bundle with the softest cry. I remember watching Daniel cradle her, his rough hands suddenly so gentle, as though he was holding the most precious jewel. In that moment, I saw him transform from my husband into a father. Years passed and life became busy. Daniel worked long hours at the hardware store, while I stayed home, raising Lily and, later, her little brother, Ethan. Those years were full of chaos. Diapers, bedtime stories, scraped knees, school projects, birthday cakes that never looked as pretty as they did in the cookbook pictures. I sometimes felt like I was failing. The house was messy more often than not, money was tight, and exhaustion was constant. But when I tucked my kids into bed at night and heard them whisper, "I love you, Mom," I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. Watching them grow was both a joy and a heartache. Lily was strong-willed, with eyes that sparkled with determination. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, even as a little girl. Ethan, on the other hand, was quieter, thoughtful, always curious about how things worked. I often caught him taking apart toys just so he could figure out how to put them back together. As they grew, so did Daniel and I. Marriage wasn't always easy. We had arguments about bills, about work, about parenting, but through it all, we never stopped choosing each other. Some nights, when the kids were asleep, we'd sit on the couch together, sipping tea, holding hands, and reminding ourselves why we started this journey. Then came the harder years. My mother, who had been my rock, fell ill. I watched her grow weaker each day, her once strong hands trembling as she tried to hold mine. It broke me, but it also showed me something remarkable, the strength of my children. Lily, barely in high school, would sit beside her grandmother and read to her for hours. Ethan would quietly bring her water, tuck blankets around her, and whisper jokes to make her smile. They were so young, yet so compassionate, and it made me realize they were growing stronger in ways I hadn't expected. When my mother passed, grief filled our home like a heavy fog. But it was my family that carried me through. Daniel became my anchor, reminding me to eat, to rest, to breathe. Lily hugged me with all the fierceness of her love, and Ethan sat with me in silence, holding my hand, as though he understood that sometimes words weren't necessary. Life moved forward, as it always does. Lily went off to college, chasing her dream of becoming a teacher. I cried the day we packed her car, but I also felt a surge of pride. My little girl, who once clung to my leg on her first day of kindergarten, was now brave enough to step into the world on her own. Ethan, meanwhile, discovered a love for engineering, spending countless hours building projects in the garage with Daniel. Watching them, I realized something. Every challenge, every hardship, every loss, we didn't just survive them. We grew stronger because of them. Years turned into decades. I watched my children graduate, fall in love, start families of their own. I watched Daniel's hair turn silver, his hands grow rougher, his back ache from years of hard work. And yet, he was still the same man who held our daughter for the first time with trembling hands and whispered, "I'll protect you forever." One evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, I thought about the journey of my life. I had seen so much joy, pain, triumph, loss. I had watched my children grow older, wiser, kinder. I had watched my husband grow into a man who loved with quiet strength. I had watched myself change, too, from a young girl unsure of her path into a woman who had lived, loved, and endured. And through it all, I saw one constant truth. Love doesn't weaken with time. It grows stronger. Now, when I look at my grandchildren running through the yard, laughing with the same sparkle in their eyes that Lily and Ethan once had, I know that the cycle continues. They, too, will grow older. They, too, will face struggles. But they will also grow stronger. This is life. This is family. This is the beauty of watching time pass, not with regret, but with gratitude for every fleeting, precious moment. And as I sit here, heart full, I can say with certainty, I wouldn't trade a single second.